Good evening. We've met in closed session. We have a quorum. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We start with we're looking for a motion to approve the minutes from May 21st, 2018, business meeting, May 21st, 2018, closed meeting, and May 25th, 2018, special meetings. Oops.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Terry moves.
Second.
Mike.
Terry Pavasich? Aye. Mike Davenport?
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller?
Aye.
Dan Nicholas?
Aye.
Rick Pavanato?
Aye.
Nancy Kupka?
Aye. Motion carries. We're going to move on now to the first, let me just steal here. I'm having some computer, and I'm glad you can't do it either. The meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for comments from the audience. The first reception of visitors is intended for audience members to address the board about any agenda item on which the board will vote. Is there anybody who wishes to address the board? Thank you, sir. Hearing none, we'll move on to public hearing. The purpose of said hearing will be to receive public comment on a proposed application to waive a portion of Section 27(6) of the school code to allow driver education to substitute for 1 semester of physical education. Public comment is being taken. Is there anybody who'd like to comment? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close this public hearing, and we'll move back to the agenda to recommendations and reports of the superintendent.
All right.
Thank you.
Fire this up real quick.
As always.
All right, I'm going to turn the floor over to Rob Lang, who's new to the district office this year, is our Director of Innovation, and he has a much longer title than that. I made it up and I can never remember. Georgia Hash from South and Sarah Corrington from North as our associate principals for instruction, and they're going to kind of run us through the work that they did this year. And Rob, I think you can control and run it.
So we're here this evening to explain an exciting project that we've been working on over this past academic year, and that project is titled the Personalized Professional Learning Program. Before we get into what the program is, though, I'd like to remind us about our district goal, Domain 2. Oh, sorry.
We started.
Sorry, I can stand.
I thought you looked a little different.
Yeah.
Corner.
Here, we can scoot.
Slide this one.
Sorry.
I'm trying to give you a subtle hint. You apparently are not that astute.
No.
John has been
Thick skull.
replaced.
So we have our Domain 2 in our district goals, which is the development and evaluation of staff. And it says that we're aiming to enhance current practices, identify strengths and challenges, and create new processes that empower staff to create conditions for a positive and effective student experience. There's actually 3 major projects that we've been working on this year related to Domain 2. The first is our certified appraisal system. We went through a redesign of that, and the best way to describe the goal of that is to use Dr. Thiele's quote from a previous presentation, which is that we wanted to go beyond verifying good, and we wanted to focus on getting even better. So related to that is we wanted to create a program that offered opportunities to our staff to make choices about how they want to get even better. So that's what we're going to talk to you about tonight, is the Personalized Professional Learning Program that's related to the previous project. And the best way to describe that is to use a quote from Charlotte Danielson, who is an expert in teacher evaluation and teacher growth. And her quote is that it's time that teachers as professionals can benefit from numerous opportunities to continually refine their craft. So we wanted to create a program that gave numerous opportunities to our staff to get even better than what they are now. The third project, and I'll come back at a future board meeting to explain in depth this project, is our Deep Equity Program. And Gary Howard is the expert that we used to design that program. And his quote is that we aim for teaching and leading in such a way that more of our students across more of their differences achieve at a higher level and engage at a deeper level more of the time without giving up who they are. So we went through a whole process this year with that program, designing it, and we have an implementation plan, but I'll explain that at a future date. So all three of those programs are aimed to help us with Domain 2, and they're also related through one really important piece of educational research, and that comes from John Hattie. John Hattie is a world-known expert on educational research. His team looks at thousands of research studies across the world and tries to find common themes, and then they do statistical analyses to determine which of those themes is the most powerful to help us reach our goals in schools. And what they found is that collective teacher efficacy is the single most powerful influence on student achievement. And collective teacher efficacy is the faculty's shared beliefs and actions about their collective capability to promote successful student outcomes. So as a staff, do they believe and do they act towards promoting successful student outcomes? So our challenge was to design a program that gave our staff choices and options that allowed them to work together to increase their beliefs and their actions towards positive student outcomes. I'll pass it over to Georgia. Georgia will explain our process, and then Sarah's going to explain the program and some major milestones we had this year, and then our next steps.
All right, so Rob really should get a huge amount of credit for this. I think Sarah would agree. Just really getting this off the ground, and he pulled together, ran it by us and pulled together a large team of people. And you'll see there some of the titles of the people, but obviously we had a wide range of teachers on that group. Valerie's here. She is on that group. We represented the library staff, the deans, counselors, that whole area, our literacy and instructional coaches, administrators, department chairs. So there were a lot of people involved. With the goal of getting the best picture of what the staff really felt like they needed in terms of professional learning moving forward. So he pulled the team together and then asked us to really spend some time developing a vision for what personalized professional learning should be in District 99. And so you see there in that quote some really, or in the definition, I guess, some really important ideas that the team went back and got some feedback, and overwhelmingly we decided that it was really important for it to involve choice, that there had to be some flexibility. As we all know, we have to put some time into it. And when people need resources and they need to engage in professional learning that's relevant for their practice, and it's timely, and it impacts students in all the different domains that we work in the school. So obviously achievement, but also in those areas of social and emotional development that we know are so important to support student achievement, academic achievement. So another really important aspect of personalized professional learning is that it's got to be grounded in best practice and research. So once the team members went back to their departments and the different teams that they work with, they solicited feedback from those people, and we began looking at a myriad of professional resources. And again, Rob brought a lot of those to us. He has a lot of those, and he spends a lot of time, I think, really looking at those and familiarizing himself with the research that's out there. And so he brought a lot to the table and a lot to the team so that they had a lot to work with and to begin to design the process that Sarah's going to talk about.
Thanks. All right, so we know from the research that Rob has presented, educational research across time has told us, along with what our staff feedback has been, that teachers need a voice, and they also need choice in what they are learning about and some control over what that looks like for them. So with that in mind, we designed a program and a menu of options that really comes down to just 2 questions, and they're up there. What do you want to get better at? And how do you want to do that? How do you want to learn? And with that thought, we moved ahead to develop the very first draft of our menu. I think it's important to note that some of the things that are what we call our workshops or our strands for professional development will continue. They're on the menu, and those are part of what the options are, because those things like differentiated instruction and cooperative learning are values to this district, and it's important to us that our new faculty is trained in those things when they start with us at the beginning of their career or their time with us. But we also know that we want to continue to give people the chance to learn in ways that go far beyond that. So within this menu of experiences, for example, a group of teachers might decide that they want to get together and do a lesson study. That might mean that they work together to develop a lesson, and then they go and teach the lesson, and then they come back and talk through what that looks like. Or they might go into a colleague's classroom and get the opportunity to shadow somebody who's teaching something that they might be teaching in a similar course or are going to teach in the future. And as we moved along in this work, what we realized is that it's very important that we do this well. And to do anything well, you need practice and you need time. And with that in mind, we decided that for this coming year, we're going to pilot this. We know we have other priorities. There's other things that we're working on. So we're going to test this out with some of our faculty members in a pilot, and then plan to roll this out for all of our faculty to participate in the following year. This will also give us a chance to work with the instructional coordinator and that redesigned role to support this, as well as our instructional coaching staff. We have a lot of resources within our own faculty. Our coaches are fantastic, and we would like to see some of these individual things that have been basically like silos of professional development start to come together and work towards this goal. And finally, we are encouraged because Rob had submitted a proposal for us to present at Learning Forward, which is a national conference this coming December. And that is actually a national conference that gets quite a few proposals. So the selection process is highly selective. So we were excited when we were chosen because this tells us that we're onto something. And that if folks on a national level are interested in hearing more about what's happening in District 99, that means the work is exciting. So we are looking forward to that in December.
That's our presentation.
So I have a question. First of all, congratulations on getting accepted. It's what we love to see. And, you know, self-directed learning is fabulous. But what's the overall, what's his title?
He doesn't remember.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the things I think we've struggled with all along is, and not everybody knows this if you read the literature, and I don't know the literature, I just barely scratched it in education, but, you know, there are a lot of people criticize and say that classes are taught the same way they were taught back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was a young girl. So I guess my question is, what is our overall goal? Where do we want to take our teachers beyond having them identify where they would like to go? What are your thoughts in terms of where we as a district need to go? I mean, I know you and I have had some discussions about that, but just like how are we coming to that decision?
So the very same things that we're trying to do in this program is what we want to do with our students. So we want our students to have more of a voice in what they learn and how they learn. Of course, we have national standards, state standards we have to accommodate, but we want them to be more active participants in the classroom rather than just getting the knowledge from their teachers. But the important thing is that our school systems currently are set up in a way that teachers teach, and for the most part, they learn independently. There aren't many opportunities for them to learn together, to collectively as a staff grow together and to learn from each other. So the goal is to open up opportunities. So like what Sarah referenced is open up opportunities for teachers to go and observe each other's lessons and give each other feedback, and to see what other staff members are doing, so that way they can get feedback from each other.
No, I thought we've been doing that with the
PLCs?
PLCs, yeah.
Yeah, so PLCs are an opportunity for staff to get together and to talk about what they did in their classrooms, not necessarily an opportunity for them to go into each other's classrooms and to see what they're doing.
Thank you.
How many staff members would be involved in this first pilot program?
So I think we're going to do a soft launch on this. There's some that will inherently just become part of the pilot. So for example, our instructional coaching staff already has clients, staff members that are assigned to them. Because that is inside of the coaching is inside of the program, they're naturally going to become part of our pilot. Staff members that sign up for our workshops this year will naturally become part of our pilot. And then what we'll probably do is at the start of the year, look at that menu of options and see which of those options on there are we not already doing this year, and to find people that want to try out those models with us.
To offer a little variety then, if a teacher would like to see another teacher teach, would there be funding in place then to hire the substitute teacher to take over the other teacher's class? And then would there be a limit as how many times a year you could actually implement that strategy so that you're not going out of your classroom?
Right.
Or would you only be allowed to do it on your plan period or your
No,
your prep
subbing
period?
is allocated towards it.
Oh, good.
Comes out of my Title II budget. So there's a line item there
It should be
associated
open
with
because you just
subbing.
don't know. All right.
Right. And we want to protect their time for lesson planning and not have them go into another classroom at that time.
And then would those instructional coaches that have volunteered to give their time, would there also be a little bit of a stipend at the back end for them for giving their time? Or is this purely voluntary?
Our coaches are already compensated through
Okay, good.
release periods, teaching release
Oh.
periods.
So there,
So they're already off during certain periods that they coach.
okay,
So
okay.
Would that give teachers an opportunity to go across town and do those kinds of observations, or are they mostly within the same buildings?
I think ideally it would be cross-town, but when we look at how much it costs to sub somebody out for their travel time and for
Logistics.
being in someone else's class, I think that's going to get in our way.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking of, some great ideas, let's say, in social studies at North, and maybe some of our faculty from South would want to come over and see what was going on, and vice versa.
But the menu of activities offers more than just observation and peer review. There's a lot of different study styles, study groups that could occur virtually, could happen outside of the day. There's a lot of things on the menu.
Okay.
that You could see teachers collaborating on across town, but the peer observation, peer review is harder to do that way.
Hank, in your next Friday's memo, could you include that memo as an
Oh, the
attachment?
menu?
That menu as an
Yeah,
attachment?
absolutely.
Could you put it on there?
Sure can, yeah. Yeah.
I think this is really exciting. I think, sometimes some great ideas are lost in just one classroom. So I think that's really a good thing.
And we have a group that started last year called Innovation Lab, where the idea was, let's find some of our more innovative teachers and let's create time for them to get together so they can talk about things that they're interested in and they can give each other feedback to help them. Because one thing we recognize too is that many times when we're trying to grow a whole staff, we lean on those individuals the most to be the trainers of the staff, so we wanted to give them an opportunity to continue their growth also.
That's very good.
Good, thank you. Very good.
Very good.
Will there be any issue with, so you have a pilot group doing, and then we have everybody else doing the PLCs, and is there any danger in this group not being aware of what everybody else is kind of focusing on?
Well, everybody's still going to do PLCs.
Okay, so this would be in addition to.
Right.
But that's, so that's thankful for that sacrifice then. There's additional time then being spent.
If you remember back to when we talked about the changes in teacher evaluation, part of that those changes were to reduce the time spent on extra paperwork or measuring things that we already know to be true. And then the idea is to get rid of that time that's really wasted time and give it back to teachers to just grow their craft.
Right.
So that's why those two things go hand in hand, the changes in teacher evaluation with the changes in staff
good.
development.
I still think it would be nice to hear in several months, kind of an outline about where, as a district, we want to go in terms of freshening the way teaching is done. So it's not just it's not just didactic standing in front of a.
You'll hear about that in July. We meet tomorrow to start talking about district goals with the administrative team. And then with next year's district goals, there's a whole group working on the student experience. That's
Right.
domain 1. And we'll bring you some of those things. And then domain 2 is staff development. And those two will, they work independently tomorrow on the student experience and the staff kind of experience, and then come together and collaborate to make kind of that domain 1 and 2 together as a whole.
And do we have any students participating in the student experience?
Well, through all of the other things that we have, but not with the administrative goal setting. But yes,
Oh, you are.
teachers are always, students are always involved in what we do.
Teachers line?
How do you balance offering a wide array of menu of options to the teachers as to how they learn with uniformity, so that you know that at least all of the teachers are meeting a certain baseline in their professional development?
Yeah, so part of this process on this menu is what do you want to learn and how do you want to do the learning. So we got the how, the models of professional learning from research, so those are there. But then the what is what we got from our staff interviews. What is it that they're interested in? And that went through a vetting process of the committee to say, yeah, this looks good. This is aligned to what we're trying to do. When you see the menu, you'll see there's also a little box for other. So if there's something on, some sort of topic on there that they're interested in, they can check other, but it needs to be approved by Sarah or Georgia to make sure that the other is still helping us to achieve our goals.
And Don, as teachers come into the district, we have a new teacher induction program with some core programming that we expect that District 99 teachers will know, skills that they will have, and Georgia and Sarah help run that program so that we're sure that by the time that a teacher is on the tenure track, they have all those basic skills and expectations that we value here in District 99. So that's really where those core ideas come from, so that all the teachers have those basic skills.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And congratulations again on your
Yeah.
presentation, having your presentation accepted. Fabulous.
Good going.
Okay, master facility plan progress.
All right, so some quick updates on the master facility plan, things that have happened since we met last month. So finals week, we held our student group meetings at both North and South High. Had a variety of conversations, discussions. They looked at what the adults put forward. Remember, the student group kind of gets to vet everything the adults bring forward as to whether that's accurate or not. And then one of the design activities they did, you see some, I know you can't make out what the actual tiles are, but what they did was they set up around the room a whole bunch of images of other schools that have had similar things done, like culinary arts labs or learning commons or classrooms, all these different spaces that we're looking at. And you see the combination of red and green dots. So the students went around the room and they kind of voted with their red and green dots as to what kind of spaces that they felt reflected what their needs were. And the red dot said, nope, not interested. And then they went through all of those images and talked about what it was that they liked, what they didn't. The ones that were mixed were very interesting discussions, because there's some that some students really liked and some students really didn't, which led to great conversations. And then finally, at the end, the students took the architect's and the administrators on a tour of their own buildings. So we broke the kids up into small groups, and they took us on tours through the building and pointed out things that they valued within the buildings and things that they would like to see changed. We gathered all that back together, and to summarize it, both sides of town, both our students, very practical in nature. Things that were just there for show, in the images they saw and in the discussions they had, they weren't really excited about. But things that really made a difference in learning and the student experience and that were functional, they were all for. So, that was really common across both schools. Concerns that they had in common there, the flow of traffic. Unfortunately, in today's world, when you start telling students to dream big, they are turned to safety and security, and it shows the reflectiveness and the connectiveness of our students with the world, but it's also a little black eye on us as a society that's at the forefront of 14, 15, 16, 18-year-old kids' minds, right? So that was kind of a downer in the day, although we know that that's a committee and something we need to be looking at. And they're really down on the idea of inflexible furniture. The same furniture that we all sat in school is the same furniture that they're sitting in. And little kids saying it's uncomfortable and big kids saying it's uncomfortable and nobody thinking that it's comfortable. So then we went on to kind of summarize what they're hoping for. They're really excited about the common space and access to that and access to the resources that hang off the common space and the variety of different spaces that can be inside of that and learning environments that can be in there. The opposite of the inflexible furniture, the flexible furniture. But once again, very practical. If the piece of furniture that they saw looked cool, but they couldn't see themselves working in it, they pitched it right away. It was very interesting to see. There's some really cool stuff that's out on the market furniture-wise, and kids sorted through, the stuff real quick. It reminded me of my grandfather always had a saying that fishing lures are designed to catch fishermen, not fish. And I feel the same way about some of the furniture catalogs, right? They're designed to catch the people buying the furniture and not the kids sitting in it. And the kids went right through, a lot of the flash and, the impractical design pieces and went right for, no, I want to sit in that, or I don't want to sit in that. And it was really interesting to hear their perspectives. And then they want a lot of small meeting areas. They want areas where they could go work in a small group. There's not a lot of spots for kids to just get a spot to work. We do a lot of group work across the school, but we don't have a lot of group meeting areas for kids to work. So a lot of feedback around that from students. Out of that, what we're going to do is design 3 classrooms at each school over the summer to test out some of these ideas next year before we start rolling out on a larger plan. So we've located 3 rooms to redesign at each school, focusing on lighting, furniture, which we've discussed, flooring surfaces, and wall surfaces. And a lot of conversation about writable wall surfaces and magnetic wall surfaces so that they're multi-use spaces. A lot of conversation about walking into a classroom and not knowing where the front of the classroom is, that learning could happen in any direction. The whole space is usable. This week, we're holding some meetings with students, staff, and designers that are coming into these spaces and are looking at what should go in them. And then the furniture that they pick, it takes about 12 weeks for furniture to arrive, so we can't start the year with new furniture, but we'll try to start the year with rooms redone with the other thing, lighting, flooring, wall surfaces. And then keep the furniture in there that's in there now, and as the furniture arrives, we'll swap it out. And then we're going to try to work out some ways to rotate either furniture or classes or something in some way so we can get kids and staff to be in a variety of those spaces over the course of the year. And then we're going to look for them to be giving us feedback. So we're going to do some written feedback. We're going to do some student interviews. We're going to put some of that on videotape so that the larger committees can see what the students' feedback is, so that they can actually see the students talking about their experience and the staff talking about their experience in those classrooms. And that way we can take all of that data back as we add on our new classrooms or refurbish our old classrooms going forward with all of that new information. So, then the last part of the conversation was initial building design concepts. These are rough ideas right now to see if the architects understand what the district's been thinking about, the feedback that we've gotten from the community, from the board, from parents, all of that, from students, that they're starting in the right direction. So that was, we went through those. They're very rough draft designs, nothing that I'd want to share with the public yet. I mean, this is really rough sketches. But this was enough to give them feedback to say, yeah, over here you're going in the right direction, over here not so much. And I would expect that the next round would be, we'd be more in sync than we were this time. White has been really responsive. They came and met with the administrative team alone before we got to the core team on Wednesday. So last Monday, they met with just a small group of administrators, and there were a few pieces that we were strongly not in favor of. And by Wednesday, they were back with new ideas in line more with what we were talking about. So they've been very responsive to our feedback. And we would, as we've shared before, we expect initial designs that we could share with the public and start to get out to staff and larger groups somewhere in August. And then I know the board has been interested in kind of timelines and milestones and what would be coming next. So we're working on right now forming the community advisory group, as I shared last time, one that will get information virtually and provide feedback that way, and another smaller group that'll meet face-to-face. And we'll get that face-to-face group together around the start of the school year. We're starting to plan tours of other schools. I think the board saw the invite for that today. I talked about the prototyping classroom and the design work. After August, as we move into September and October, that's when we'll have the conversations about how does the actual project phase out? Are we within budget? Are we, is our scope creeped along that design process, or are we within our budget and our plans that were originally out there? After we have all of that, we can go out and start looking for, or around the time we're getting all of that, we plan on going out and looking for a construction manager. And then after the start of the year, we'll have enough information to go out and talk about, are we going to do a guaranteed maximum contract like we did for the air conditioning project or not? So that conversation's still a ways off, but I want to get on your radar that that's something we're still considering doing. So that all being said, any questions?
How are we looking so far in the air conditioning projects of both schools? Going to be ready in time for a start of school?
Jim?
Quick update, we are in great shape, right on target. Nothing unpredictable happened yet. I always say that because you never know what's going to happen, but moving along very quickly, in fact, ahead of schedule on some things, so I can't foresee any problems prior to our start date. We'll be ready to go, probably a little early.
Bab. Ellie, did you have any questions? Oh, no, you're welcome to ask.
Yeah, I'm good for now. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just throwing that out to you. You're welcome.
You're new to the team.
You're new to the team, so we got to make you feel right at home and put you on the spot. Any other comments for Jim or questions? Great. Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee?
I'll turn this over to Scott.
Yeah, I was just going to provide a quick update. We had sent out an exit survey after the May 14th meeting that we had, and we looked at asking the parents and guardians the overall value of the event. We asked about positive feedback from the event. We asked about ways to improve the event and also then future focuses for us. The responses that we had were obviously overall positive. We had the highest categories were in the overall event, in the topics that we discussed, and in the small facilitated groups. one of the things in the area improvement that they asked for was more time, which we did dedicate the entire session to the small facilitated group. So that was, I thought, even though it was an area of improvement, it was a positive comment. And they wanted to have more events like that that we held. The positive feedback that we got was they really appreciated that we appreciate their feedback and that we value their feedback. They really liked that North and South collaborate together in the programming, which I thought was a really cool thing to come out of that from our parents. And then just jumping down to future topics, they talked about just wanting to look at a parent series for us to create like other schools. To continue to focus on social emotional supports, but they did acknowledge that they appreciated that we are devoting and the board approved to support more of the social emotional for next year. There was a number of comments about not wanting to have out of school suspension. So we're taking all that feedback like we did last year and going to process that as a team. And like Hank mentioned, we're going to dive into that tomorrow at our goal setting meeting. So. But overall, it was good feedback.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments? Great, thanks, Scott. Proposed state and local municipal tobacco ordinances.
So we've been in discussion over the course of, well, really in the spring here. There's been a movement across the state of Illinois from a variety of different health organizations, including the American Heart Association, to raise the legal age to buy tobacco products to the age of 21. We've seen a marked spike in the use of tobacco use this year because of the vaping trend. Our two student assistant coordinators and our two athletic directors have really led the way in trying to get out to our student body the dangers of vaping. We've been featured on local news several times and in write-up because of this. Jill has been great at also getting the word out around this. But we think administratively, we heard recently that one of our local municipalities was looking to discuss this at one of their village council meetings. So administratively, we sent along a letter of support for passing a local ordinance to raise the legal age to 21. What I'd like to know is if the board would be interested in July in us bringing back a resolution prepared by our legal counsel that would be a strong message to local municipalities in the state legislature that this board supports that action as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even the gentleman on the camera agreed.
Yeah.
The audience is interested. So that being said, I will do that. I'll work with our legal counsel and we'll come up with a resolution for this board to take action on, and then we'll forward that resolution on to all of those, our government agency partners.
Any questions or comments? Okay, food service management company renewal.
I'm going to turn this over to Mark.
Sure. We have a 5-year agreement with Chartwell's, their division of Compass Foods. It is really, the work is done in the original bid and the vetting out of the different proposals. So really, these are pretty simple now. They're tied to CPI increases. So we'll see a 2.1% increase in their meal rate, regardless of how they're doing economically, which we do check on them, and they're doing okay, they're saying. And then a second piece that runs parallel to this is the National School Lunch Program requires certain minimum costs for the type A meal. We can't charge less for the meal than we're paying, than they're paying for it. So, or we're paying our provider for it. So we're increasing we're required to increase it by 25 cents. So it'll go from $3 to $3.25 for a type A meal. And that's, I said that wrong, actually. We can't charge less for that meal than what we're getting reimbursed for it. And that's the problem. We were charging such a low rate that we were below the national average for the reimbursement. So that's why we have to increase it by 25 cents next year. The breakfast won't change. It'll stay the same at $1.50. Both of those are in line with neighboring schools. We're actually still lower than some of our sender schools, and we have a bigger lunch on a relative comparison basis. So I mean, they were doing okay for the first 2 years. We're pleased with their service. They're very greatly hindered by the 20-minute lunch and the size of the cafeteria in particular at North. So they're very excited about being part of this renovation for the North kitchen and actually the South to open it up. We met with, as part of the theming team, with the consultant, who's definitely knows his stuff. He's a very good consultant. He's out of Indianapolis. And they're really excited about some of his ideas about bringing food out, preparing it in front of the kids, being more open with the kitchen, and a lot of new techniques that other schools are putting in place, and that's improving performance. So it's our recommendation to maintain this contract and renew it with Chartwell's. Honestly, it'd be practically impossible for us to go out to bid, and if you didn't like it, so I hope you're okay with it. We wouldn't get many people being able to get a program up and running in 2 months. So that's our recommendation on the food service contract.
Questions?
I think your memo mentioned like 1,200 students taking part. Is that what I?
Yeah, the average daily amount.
Right.
It's average daily kids buying a type A meal.
That's pretty. So we
That's a
pretty much
type A meal. That's not just the whole program.
We pretty much flatlined on that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
in terms. I mean, that's 22% or something like that.
Yeah.
We used to talk about this in terms of a percentage. So, we're not seeing a decline anymore. There was a time when it seemed like
It had declined. Well, it was, I'll say, directly correlated to the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act, which required huge increase in the grain. So the pizza crust is now a wheat crust, instead of what kids were used to. And but we keep being told that the generations, as they go through, if you come as a freshman, you'll get used to the pizza being that way. But the seniors say, I remember the good old days, and so maybe Ellie will have a word or two about that. And so we're greatly restricted by what content they can put and, the protein and the calories that they can put out into a product. And so, but they are, every school has this problem, and everybody's sharing ideas, and they're getting better at different menu ideas. Our major problems are really our kitchen size at North in terms of being able to prepare foods, and at South, the kitchen is nicer there, but still the 20-minute lunch is really tough.
As part of our student design teams during final exams, this was a topic at both schools. And both student groups felt that when the Learning Commons is added and there's the 50-minute time, that you could come and use however you want, and that the layout would be such where there might be like some different menu options within the Commons, and better flow of traffic, especially at North High within the lines. All students believed that would make them more interested in eating lunch, buying lunch at school than what is currently there. So we'll see if that makes a difference.
Yeah. I will say this, from a very small number of kids, I've heard the food is much better and it's fresher.
Good.
And they really enjoy. The 10 or so people I've heard from really sitting around my kitchen table really enjoyed the.
Yeah, like I say, they're learning, and they're changing the menus to try and keep up with
eating good fresh
the way
food.
they can.
Yeah, no, they appreciate
They'll
it.
keep
Good
the
salads.
guidelines, but get the good menu there.
Yeah.
And it's not like our kids aren't eating. I mean, they're bringing food from home, which is a habit, and so and they will buy a la carte items. So that's another thing.
I've always thought the biggest barrier was the 20-minute thing. I mean, it's for my kids. It's just it's
very
not enough
difficult.
time.
They don't want to waste their time in line. Yeah,
It's not enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
For sure. That's probably the main reason I don't buy lunch, is because I just don't have time to like stand in line, buy lunch, and then sit down and
Right.
eat it and socialize.
Yeah.
Because you got to get to that socialization.
Yeah.
It's important.
That's what lunch period's
Can't you
for.
talk
Oh,
in
the
line,
research
right?
says that's important.
That and food fights.
Great. Student novels?
All right, I will turn this one over to Mark as well.
Okay, so this is the second year we've gone to a combined bid for English novels. And we like the results we're getting from it. Last year was our first year, and we put it together, and we honored the systems for delivering the text to the classrooms that was in place, which at the South Campus was done by students, but at the North Campus was actually part of the scheduled day where they were handed out on scheduled pickup day, and the vendor had to staff it with their people and actually package it from different boxes and put it together for a student into a bag, and it was like, so what North is doing this next year differently is they're going to use the South method. They're going to let probably custodians, but also maybe student helpers, bring the books in box. We're going to have each box for each teacher's classroom packed separately. That's part of the bid requirement. And so that they can just bring the box right to their classroom, and then the first day they'll be passed out. And that's worked well for South, and we expect that to work well for North. So the lowest bid is Superior Text. We did do a review. It's $10,000 less than the next bidder. And it's Superior Text is nobody we'd heard of before, so we did a pretty thorough review of their references. I spoke with Rick Scott, who is their chief salesperson, but also involved with the logistics of it. They know exactly what we asked for. They're boxing it in this particular way. It's really going to involve 70 or so different boxes being labeled differently. We're going to give them purchase orders that are specific to the asking for that to be labeled that way. He says that they've done that dozens of times. It's not a problem for them. They have a large warehouse area where they put a team together, then just do it. So he was not at all put off by the request. Oddly enough, it's actually, the prices of textbooks have gone up, at least in terms of availability or these vendors. The price this year under this was about, on average, $6.90 per textbook. We bought about 2,000 more books this year than last year, and it was about $7 last year. So it's gone down because of this vendor, but if you take the averages, the rest of them are really over what we were paying last year. So we're going to have to be conscious of that because that's one of those costs. We need to get these novels for our students, and we can't really go out and force a 2.1% contract on anybody. We have to pretty much go to the market. So we're just keeping an eye on that. But the recommendation is to accept the lowest bid of $117,000 for $241.90 to Superior Text LLC, so we can get these and have them ready for August.
So they're not doing some of them on their Chromebooks?
We don't have any digital. These are texts that they actually, part of the project is for kids to underline and mark up the books, and it's theirs to keep. That's why originally we charged a separate fee for textbooks, but now we've just blended that into our total registration fee. But it's for them to actually have it and mark it, and just as a learning piece.
I have a question about that. So for the English classes, this year I was in AP Language and Composition, I believe, and we received maybe 7 or so like not textbooks, like novels, like hard copies, and I think we read 1 or 2, and the rest we didn't use.
No.
So I don't know if that's...
We'll have to talk to some teachers, I guess, to find out what's going on.
We use other texts, but we just used like printed out, like they were like shorter text. We used like Voltaire and such like that.
Okay. That's interesting.
Got the cliff notes of it. You probably don't even know what cliff notes are.
Yeah, and I think it was necessarily a bad thing that they're not.
have those anymore?
Sometimes that we just get to go like further in depth in one book and like really understand as opposed to like moving through so many books, which is not a bad thing at all, but I just think it's something.
It's a bad thing.
Well, and in some cases, some of the novels that students read, and I can't speak specifically to your class, are checked out. So we have a small inventory in some cases in our English offices of books that we will give out. Not every student will even read them in the same course, but we check them in and out. And we do that for a variety of different reasons. In some cases, it might be because we can't purchase those books any longer, they're out of print. Rather than give them to students and have them mark them up, we check them out. So that does occur as well.
But still, it's a very good point, because just out of habit, you probably reorder. That would be something the teachers could look more closely at.
I don't think all teachers use the same books, like, and just like some teachers prefer different texts for different subject matter, which is.
Yeah.
We're ordering them by course and by teacher.
That's why they're packaged separately, because each classroom and each.
Some are common, depending on the course. So for English 3, you may have 2 books that, every teacher
Has to.
to use, and then 2 other ones that they decide for their class what's best. So that's why you see some of that
If they
fluctuation
run out
as
of
well.
time, they run out of time and they don't do it.
So then we agree that your homework assignment is to read the other 5 books for summer?
Report back.
Makes us all happy.
Well done, Mark. Well done.
Summer reading.
Never going to purchase.
All right,
them.
student novels will be up under action items tonight.
Right, 9C, action item.
Bulk purchasing.
Bulk
CNG.
purchasing, Jim?
Okay, I think we're on year 8. We've come a long way. The amount of product that we are purchasing now, hundreds. It's a lot of work. I want to start by thanking Mike Reyes and Michelle Cannon and my assistant, Colleen Kramer. They do a lot of detail work. I go through it with them, but there is hundreds of line items here for custodial supplies, maintenance, and grounds, from filters to salt to chemicals that we use cleaning the building. So it's really blossomed. I think it's great because, as you'll see in the memo, and as I talk through this tonight, many companies, vendors are bidding on this, and those unit costs just keep going down. There's more competition, so I think it's great. So 22 vendors this year. I think that's the most we've ever had submitting bids. And out of that, 14 won something in all those products. Wow. So that's great, from $700 to $32,000, and all over the United States, not just here in Illinois. So our list of vendors get bigger, and more people are putting in, and the competition's great. This year, you'll notice that it's a little bit higher than last year. In my memo, I wrote that we were looking last year to deplete our stock that we had in our buildings. Every year, I'll go through these areas of storage and say, wow, we had a lot of that, let's get rid of that. Let's not keep ordering and then have that on the shelf for too long. So let's deplete what we have. And then order new. So this is that second year where now we need to order to refill those orders. The kind of outside ones are filters and salt specifically. Last year we went through a lot, and I would rather buy it cheap and have it than run out of it and then have to spend a lot of money to pick some up late in the winter season. So very happy with the bids that came in and the vendors. I'm familiar with almost all of them. The few that I was not, I called, and they're right on specification of what we were looking for. The tricky ones are plastic bags because of how thick they are. So I asked to have a bag sent to us, and we go through it together. If it's not the quality that we want, we go with the next bidder. So, but happy with all the vendors and their supplies. So tonight, we'll be asking the board to approve an aggregate amount of $125,939.22.
Questions for Jim?
Well done.
Very good.
Copy paper.
That's Jim's as well.
Another exciting one.
But still, well done.
I was thinking, how much can we really talk about copy paper? But
New copy machines we have.
That's why I keep coming back, Jim.
That's it.
It's like a good novel.
no. So, as we do yearly, we'll order colored and white paper. Our paper's recycled. We had 8 bidders, so 2 are very close. And the one that I'm going to recommend tonight was just a little bit lower. I had to call both companies up just to verify some colored copy paper that they put substitutes with, but cleared that up. Last year, we implemented some new printers and software in the school district. So going into last year, we ordered hoping that we would not deplete our amount of paper, and we didn't. This year, we came in with about 150 cases less to be ordered, so that's great news. So what does 150 cases mean? Mathematician Mark Stan, I'm going to throw numbers at you. So there's 10 reams in each case, and each ream has 500 sheets. So one case has 5,000 sheets. So 150 cases has 750,000. So that's 750,000 less pieces of paper that we're ordering this year than we did last year. That's a lot. Granted, we use about 8 million, but that's a good percentage of that 8 million. So I think we're going in the right direction. I think the software and the printers are working, the new system that we've put in. So excited to see that come down. Midland Paper is who I'm recommending tonight, from Wheeling, Illinois, in the amount of $60,302.60.
Questions for Jim? I know there's always a lot about copy paper.
Bring 'em on.
Making copies.
Okay, no questions. Dr. Thiele, have we had any freedom of information requests?
We have had 6 that we have responded to.
Great. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda, is there any item that any member of the board would like to remove for further discussion? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda detailing A, personnel report, appointment certified, transfers classified, adjustment classified, B, personnel report, retirement administration, resignation classified, C, personnel report, salary and benefits, wage increase classified, wage increase administrative, D, the financial pages, E, the approval of the resolution of nomination for membership on the Downers Grove Plan Commission, F, the approval of prevailing wage resolution, G, the approval of property and liability insurance renewals, and H, the approval of food service management company renewal.
So moved.
Thank you, Terry.
Seconded.
Brave soul, Dan.
Terry Coniston.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Ruth Pavinato.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, consent agenda passes. Moving on to recommendations for action, approval of school code waiver, application to allow driver's education to substitute for 1 semester of PE.
This was discussed in the hearing, well, it was in the hearing tonight. We've gotten feedback from David Olson, who said he would support us, and from Patty Bellick, who always, because she serves on the health committee, always believes that PE should be one of the top priorities in schools, so always is against this waiver. So both as our local legislators provided feedback. The rules for this have changed in that once the board takes action on this, it only goes to the leaders in the legislation to approve it, where it used to be an up-down vote on the legislative floor. So they've kind of streamlined this process, and we would expect that it would move through.
We'll go for 5 years instead of 2 as the previous.
Very good, very good. I move that we approve the school code waiver application to allow driver's ed to substitute for one of the semesters of phys ed.
I'll second.
Terry Pavicic.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Ruth Pavinato.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
No, but the motion carries nonetheless. Award of bid bulk purchasing CMG supplies.
This was what Jim just discussed.
I move the Board of Education approve the award of contract for custodial maintenance and ground supplies to the noted vendors in the aggregate amount of $125,939.22. May I have a second?
You may. I'll second the motion.
There's always, it's like a hesitancy.
Leave me hanging. Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
John Renner.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. Do we have a bid, do we have a motion for the award of bid student novels?
I move that we accept the bid for the student novels for 18-19 school year. Oh, where?
Gotta read it.
Can you read the motion that's there in
Oh,
Word docs?
no, I don't have that. Oh, okay. Motion for the Board of Education to accept the lowest responsible bid of $117,241.90 from Superior Text LLC to provide novels in the accordance with the instructions and requirements provided in the May 25th of 18 request for proposal for Community High School District 99 English Department novels.
Second.
Sorry you volunteered for that, Nora.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? On the thing, it just says student novels for 18-19.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries, and let's please talk to those teachers about what they're ordering.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And make it less.
Award of bid for copy paper.
Well, I'm not reading that one, so.
I moved the board. Oops, I just lost it. I had it and I lost it. Copy paper.
I make a motion for the
Thank you,
Board of
Don.
Education to
Thank you,
approve
Don.
an award of contract to Midland Paper Wheeling, Illinois for copier paper for fiscal year 2018-19 in the amount of $60,302.60.
I'll miss. Cheryl has it.
Ooh,
It
sure.
was quick.
Yeah.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. And finally, action on personnel matter.
I make a motion for the Board of Education to issue a notice to remedy the tenured teacher named in the minutes of the closed session held earlier this evening.
I second.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. This is the second reception of visitors, which is intended for audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to Community High School District 99. Does anybody wish to address the board? Hearing none, we'll
Got
move.
through it before the instructions came out.
We'll move on to communications and announcements. Len?
We have not met since our last meeting. Unless, Hank, did you want to give an update on the passage of the dual legislation?
We're so close. It's sitting on the governor's desk. This was from the year-long work. Really, Paget Lend was a huge leader with the legislators to get this through. It took a lot of back and forth with higher education leaders and K-12 leaders to get us to a point where we have a bill that there was no objections to from those groups, and made it through both the Senate and the House, and is now awaiting passage. So this has been a lot of work this year, but I think it's going to make a huge difference for kids across the state of Illinois.
Fabulous, yes.
Go team. Report on School Association for Special Education in DuPage County. We've met, we're meeting again Wednesday. They've re-elected chairs to both committees. They're the same people. They're continuing to have a build-out of their a transition area. And we're continuing on with the search for a new business manager and, the ideas, a new business manager and a new executive director. District 99 Foundation.
We have not met, and we will not meet until August again.
Thank you. Illinois Association of School Boards, anything?
Hard to believe we're already thinking about planning for November, so Julie sent everybody a email. So let her know if you're interested in the pre-conference stuff on Friday, which I've done a few times. So it's worthwhile if there's something there that you want to learn more about. And then otherwise, that's it.
Our next board meeting will be July 16th, here at the ASC at 6:30 in the evening.
And worth noting, it starts at 6:30.
Starts at 6:30 in open session, closed session to follow. And that will be our format for next year. We'll give that a run and see how it goes.
Oh, good. So you can all go home a little earlier and
Well,
Hopefully
everybody shows up and they know that there's a meeting starting at 6:30, and they're not wondering how much longer we're going to be in closed session before we come in to meet. So,
we've gotten better, don't we?
Yes. We have.
Is there anything else? We need a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I'm going to second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.